Welcome to Actual Scale Modelling. This is part 3 of Moebius. It's Battlestar Galactica Colonial Viper. Scale is 1 to 32. In this part, I'm going to be concentrating on the engine, but I'm also going to be placing in the cockpit and putting the fuselage together. So let's jump into this and see how well I get on. To start off with, I'm going to be painting inside the fuselage, and I'm using Revol Aquacolor 76 light grey. And it's also the same colour for the landing gear bay as well. For the nose cone, the inside is Revol colour 90 silver, and this is right in the centre part of the nose cones at the bottom. This area can be difficult to paint because you can't really mask it off. I would suggest painting the silver in first like I did before going on to the outer part of the cone. So once I've done that, I moved on to the Revol colour 76 light grey for the outer part of the cone. That's the inside and the border on the lip. So it's quite a nice contrast with the silver and grey. So now I'm moving on to the rear engines, and here I'm using the same colour 76 of light grey, but this is for the inside of the engines themselves. Well, they're not the engine, they're the intake part of the engine. And while that's drying, I'm going to be fitting the cockpit compartment. There's a little bar there and just pointing out that it sits into. It's quite a snug fit, and I didn't have to manoeuvre as too much to get it to fit in. And then the landing gear bay was the next to go in, and it was similar to the cockpit. The location points are really nicely defined on this. And then I was able to get around to fitting the fuselage. The fitting itself was quite good. It was nice and tight. I did put a couple of clamps on just to hold it in place, but it really wasn't that necessary. Just holding it for a few seconds would have been enough. The inner part of the exhaust has clear parts on them, and I'm painting these with Revol colour 752 blue, clear or clear blue. Now, depending whether you're going to be lighting this up or not, I'm not, but will dictate how much of this paint you're going to put on. The clear paints take a little bit more building up in colour than normal paints, but don't be discouraged if it looks like it's not going on evenly. It's just the nature of this paint, but it does build up to a nice even coat. You just have to stick with it and put on your layers after layers until you're happy with the colour. So I'm just about finished the third layer, and I'll cut to the finished one. And this was about 4 layers of paint, and it takes next to no time to dry really, so it's not a great long process. So then it was on to the actual exhaust themselves, and I'm using Tamiya's XS56 metallic grey, and this is for the main engine ports themselves, so the inside and the out. So it's back to the intakes, and I'm using Revol Aquacolor 371 light grey, and this is for the outer part of the intakes as well as the surrounding framework. This colour is like an off-white colour, and because I'm painting on the grey primer, this will take 2, possibly 4 coats until I'm happy with the actual colour itself. And I'm also using the same colour around the furniture of the exhaust ports. Now, the truth be told, I should have painted these in before I painted with the metallic grey. It just means I've got a little bit more cutting in to do and possibly a bit of repainting. As you can see there, my brush touched the exhaust port, so that's definitely going to have to be touched up. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just touching up any little bits that I may have painted over. It's no drama, it's a tiny extra bit of work, but it does give you the opportunity to fix anything. And while that's drying, I'm going back to the intakes to apply my second coat of the 371. As you can see there, it's coming on a little bit better now, the second coat. And I'm using my large flat brush here to have a better coverage over the intakes themselves. And you may have noticed this is what I do. I will do a little part, then go into another part, then go back to the part that I was painting. That always allows drying time. So it's back to the engine intakes, and this is the rotor fan, and I'm using Revol Aquacolor 90 silver, and that's for the middle part of the fan and the surrounding area also. And then I'm putting on, not the final coat, but the last main coat on the intakes. I would say it's not the final coat because there will be a little bit more top-up paint going on once everything is assembled, and then repainting may have to be done. Now that everything's dry, I'm attaching the engine rotating fans to the intakes. There's little notches inside the component for this to line up. I found it really tight and difficult. I had to open them up slightly just to push them in. Now, you could take them off completely because it doesn't actually matter which way this sits inside the unit. So the next step of the painting on the intakes, here I'm using Tamiya's 2mm masking tape for curves. And what I'm trying to recreate here, there is a border that goes around the outside of the air intake. So I'm going to paint that in. Now there is a decal for that, but I've decided just to ignore the decals and paint the detailing in. So as you can see, the first part of the tape is right around the limb. Now I'm moving on to Tamiya's 5mm masking tape for curves. So that's the bigger version that I've just used. And I'm laying that against the 2mm tape I've already put on. Now this is going to create the width of the border that I need. There's various ways you can do this, of course. You can do it by eye, you can measure it. But I like to use a bit of tape. That way when I lay down my next piece of tape, then I'll take the 5mm tape off, then I've got the perfect border around the intake. Now you may have noticed that I haven't said I varnished this. That's because I haven't, and that's on purpose, because if the tape pulls up any of the paint, that's all to the good, because the way I'm going to be weathering this, I don't mind a bit of chipping off the paint on the outside, because that's all going to add to the weathering effect. So putting the tape on, and if it does lift off, there'll be little chips in the paint that sometimes you really wouldn't want. But in this case, if it does happen, I'll be quite happy with that. And once the three pieces of the tape are on, I'll simply then remove the middle section, and then that'll give me the area that I need to paint the band of colour in. However, this time I am varnishing that part because I do not want any paint bleed, and obviously the vanishing will stop any paint bleed. And while I'm in there, I got the varnish out and got a little bit of excess. I'm just going to put it in the inside. That's not going to affect the build later on. It will just protect the inside of the air intake. So while that's drying, I'm going to the main engine itself, and the base colour is 371 light grey, Rebel aqua colour. And as you can see, that's just the first coat going on. And then I'm switching back to the intake, and I'm using Rebel aqua colour 76 light grey for the band of colour around the intake. And once it's dry, I'll just peel off the masking tape to reveal the band of colour. And this is where I'll end part 3. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds? If you've subscribed to the channel, and please do so, make sure you hit the notification bell. That way you'll be kept up to date not only with this build and all my other builds as well in the future, of course. Hit the like button, don't be afraid to leave a comment, and of course you can share the video. Now I should point out as well, there's a more in-depth look at the painting on this model on my guide on how do I paint. This is why I'm not going into great detail in painting this one. It's like a companion video to this one. So it's always wise to check out the channel because you can see a little tidbits like that. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.